Mission GJ podcast, The Power of the Detail. Welcome to this podcast. At this time, we have Apostle Erickson Salazar and leader Aris Mella. It is so good to be here flowing with the prophetic for the house. That's right, from the house for the house. Hi, Aris. How are you doing? Luis says. Hi, Luis Miguel. I'm doing well. That's so good. And it is good to hear your voice, to be able to enjoy this time at the podcast booth with you. And it pleases us for you to be here because we are curious as to your trajectory with us in the ministry, Generation Joshua. We are curious as to how what's been your experience like in the different missions you've had to be a part of with Apostle Erickson Salazar and here in Generation Joshua. Tell us, what's been your experience? My relationship with Apostle Erickson Salazar goes back a number of years. We participated with him in productions of events and big events before moving on to be members of Generation Joshua. I'm talking the first decade of 2008, 2009, and thank God we're here. Then we became part of the ministry, and we worked and supported in different departments, different areas, but we are here after 14 years. That's amazing. And Apostle says that's why people don't know that we never know what people are going to open up with in this podcast. And it's pretty deep to hear that Aris has been with us since before Generation Joshua. And one time we were event producers, and Ari was part of that team, assisting in production, talking about. I don't know if you remember, Aris, that we had 9 events simultaneously in 9 different provinces in the Dominican Republic. Simultaneously, 9 events in 9 different provinces. Putting it together, production, programming, everything. And we lived through that experience with her. Events of sorts, of events of thousands of people, and then the same sort of event in Dominican Republic, and in Santo Domingo, in the capital. And so we've been part of what it's the production of events, logistics, everything that has to do with putting them together, even before being Joshua at that time. And I learned from Apostle how to get on top of circumstances that came up, how to not be faced by whatever happened that was coming against whatever we were trying to do, and to just move forward on top of any adversity. We learned that at that time, and we reinforced it with everything that is the connection and being violent to be able to do what you have to do, what you were delegated. This brings back a lot for me. It connects me to a lot of history. I feel like I'm looking through a book of memories because this brings back a lot of emotions. We handled ourselves in the midst of all the hotels, all the stadiums in Santo Domingo, Santiago, the different provinces in Dominican Republic, because of different events and throughout the country. And Aris was always part of the team, the production team. That's why, as a ministry, we have that mentality of protocol. We put events together because we've handled ourselves like that for over 18, 19 years. And she says 2008, but it was 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 9, in that stage. And it was a powerful experience. That is why God is always training you for things. I like that about God, that He doesn't just send you without previously training you and preparing you. For example, Aris is in the handles the part of protocol where we follow up with international people and in terms of sending presents, sending gifts, because we believe in details. God is a God of details, and we have to learn to show God the same way that He shows Himself to us. You understand? So all this preparation as far as orchestrating logistics for events, the structural aspect, the writer, what the people needed, it's something that we have as experience in terms of the technical aspect. And to be able to handle yourself with teams, which is where Addis was always present, because there's something important is the fact that we treat our teams, the talent, the members, the leaders, we treat them with a level of respect, because you have to respect the body. We have to respect the body. And we teach and educate the ministry to learn to value. It's like somebody comes to your house, you have to take care of them with elegance and the proper way. And Eris has always handled those details, the protocol, always. Even when we have big events, she would make sure that the international guests, we always had international guests, she always made sure that the details were taken care of, the attention. And that was so ingrained in us that is part of us today, that philosophy. And our ministry today handles itself the same way, that same mentality. And wherever we meet up, the protocol is that we have a logistic for it. In every aspect, in every meeting that we have, we need to have drinks, we need to have food, because it's a matter of attention. The smaller detail in a meeting with two people, but it could be somebody, it could be a homeless person, but we treat them as a prince. And Ari says we've learned that too, that it doesn't matter the class, the place. We have prepared events by a river, to the level of China and stuff like that, because we learn from Apostle to be punctual in the sense of details, to be targeted, to show what you've learned, to show it. What you were speaking of, Pastor, about the delicacy and the valuing of the body, we can also think about how it doesn't matter who it is. We give everybody the same treatment. It doesn't matter if it's the person that's preaching, the leader, if it's the person that's parking the vehicles. We were trained to show everybody the same quality, the same love. Here, there, it doesn't matter where. And it is so important that all those that are Joshua need to know that in their house, if somebody comes, you have to take care of them with elegance, with a high standard, because we don't believe in the Christ of words. We believe in the Christ that you show with your actions, the Christ that you show with just a glass of water. I'm going to see Christ based on the glass of water that you give me, because I treat people and I want them to know that they're a child of God. I'm going to show you that you're a child of God even in the way I give you food, even the way that I present it to you, the way I treat you. Everything has to influence. And today, in the case of Aris, that is part of that ministry of protocol, and she's in charge of the details that we send out. And many people get like, oh, wow, all those details. Yeah, because the level of rejection that moves around the environment gets weirded out by all the details, and that breaks. It's part of what breaks that rejection. The hardest thing is for people to allow themselves to be valued. That's the hardest thing. People are always suspicious. Aris has always wanted to have details with people, and she knows me that I'm very demanding on that people are treated right treated the right way? Did they have water? Did they eat? You have human resources that you need to understand that needs to be fed, they need to have the proper conditions. So if you have human resources and you don't take care of them, or if you have guests and you don't take care of them, people, you don't have to ask them if they want something. Just start putting stuff out. Just start setting stuff up and you'll see. Because, I repeat, it communicates. Because what happens? Nobody feels valued. And that's the part that is so delicate, because all of a sudden you want to value me, and then you're like, but why are you valuing me? Why are you doing this? It's a battle. As a ministry, we make sure that when members' birthdays come around, especially our international ones, people that are alone in a country, we send them a flower arrangement. You know, we send flower arrangements to Italy, Orlando, England, Spain, Curacao, Guyana, in different parts. It's like a long distance hug. It's actually a message that says, we believe in you. You're a child of God. You're not alone. I've always said, Christ died and gave his blood for me. Why wouldn't I have details for others when the same blood was given for them? That's why to have detail has to do with thinking about what he has done for you. So when you enjoy God's detail, then you're able to transmit that to others. See how amazing? And that's always what I've demanded. I've told the team, come on, let's do this. And everything obviously always within, with the resources, what we're able to do and what we're not able to do, because it's not about pretending or boasting. I'm demanding, but at the same time, if we do too much, I'm also demanding in that sense, where it's not to do too much. There's been times when I've told them to take it down a notch, because it's a matter of, she knows, Addie's knows, because as a manager, you handle everything in the measure, because everything can be done in different ways. There are people that are good according to the budget, but I've told them to be good even with a very, very low budget. With any budget, you got to do it with excellence. And I wanted to add, when Apostle was talking about the details, about the reactions that people have when they get those details, the impact that they feel. When we send the note, the card with the flower arrangement. For example, the details that we send throughout the world, either local or international, there's an impact that takes place. You're being taken into account, you're being valued. That breaks through rejection, where you receive the feedback from events like the change of government, where you're able to work with teams and you see the body unite in the logistic to put it together, and lives are impacted when they arrive and they see the setup and the way that we serve and the way they ate and the coffee. There's an impact that people feel with all the details that seem so simple, but Apostle teaches us that it has a connotation. Apostle says, yes, we take everything into account in every aspect, every activity, every event, every private meeting. There's always a protocol for everything. The attentions, the service, there's always there. The smallest meeting, change of government, recording like this, there's always catering. There's always a team. Because if we're working and we're working through the night, in order for you to produce well, you need to have everything in its place. But that's respect, that's appreciation. But the most important thing is that you cannot just receive it, you have to give it. There are people that I ask, I say, hey, I haven't seen you give, I haven't seen you produce, but you're consuming. Like I told a lady, oh, Louis, I think it was your mother that I told this to. I told her, hey, I haven't seen you have any details with me. And she goes, yeah, but I gave you my three sons. I told her, hey, you don't have any sort of attention for me. And she told me that, she said, I gave you my 3 boys. Luis Miguel and his two brothers have always worked for the ministry since they were kids. So she brought that up, and I was like, oh, okay, sorry. Because giving is how you receive. And sometimes there are people that are not communicating correctly because everything is, they don't want to flow in show with the details that you're a part of the kingdom. Your sowing is the one that says who you are. Your sowing says who you are. And we've always tried for our seed to speak. And that detail comes not to impress, not at all. That detail comes to tell you how the Father is with me. I'm showing you the Father because the same way that I enjoy the Father, and that's the problem. If you can't give the proper seed or give the proper details because you yourself haven't enjoyed your Father. You understand? You know why you're showing me an orphan? Because you don't flow, you don't do anything. How you doing? Oh, you don't have even detail to say hi, to shake properly, to hug properly. The attention that it's called for. You didn't even offer a glass of water. People come visit you, you don't even offer a glass of water. So, and if you give somebody, you only give to those that are of importance. In our case, you could be whoever you are. You could be from the streets, but we're going to treat you like a millionaire because you're a child of God. And that is what's missing to show God the Father. And that is where the real gospel begins. That is where evangelizing and showing God begins. There's no way to show God without details. There's no way to show God without details. Women that haven't been able to have details or haven't known to have details with their husbands, and husbands that haven't learned to have details with their wives, mothers that haven't had details with their sons, and sons that haven't had details with their parents. You have to have details with your family. Show them kingdom. Add it to your budget. Add it. Birthdays, and make sure that you have details for people for their birthday as part of your budget. And start showing God with details, because that's going to start breaking you, and it's going to start activating wealth in you, liberating riches in you. If people understood that to sow and to have details with others, it liberates riches for you. You would spend your whole life sowing. That is why, as a ministry, we are always showing detail. Showing detail gives, helping, blessing, always. And you ask why? Because that is what produces for God to sponsor us. If you stop that, everything stops. Giving is how we receive. It's not asking. We're not here asking, we give. Now everything makes sense, right? You might say, oh, he's so giving. He's so giving. And there are people they're just comfortable, just waiting and just getting. Here they give everything. But you can also give everything. Because if those that are giving, it's because giving is how they receive. It's a matter even of interest. I do it by interest. I give you so that I can keep liberating riches in me. The word says that he gave 5, 3, and 1 talents. The one that he gave 1 to tucked it away. The one that he gave 3 to multiplied it. The one that he gave 5 to also multiplied it. When the boss came, the one that had 5, he gave him 5 more. The one that had 3 gave him 3 more. And the one that had 1, I was afraid, I didn't want to do anything with it. He gave it to the one that had 5. You know what that means? If you don't sow, if you don't have details, even the little that you have will be taken away. Sorry, I didn't want to say that, but, maybe you want to edit that out. Please, let's edit that out. Because I don't want people to hear that. So, those that sow, and those that sow and don't sow correctly, what they have will be taken away. You don't know how to sow? I do know how to sow. All I know is that my seed multiplies itself. I don't know about yours. And the Bible says that the boss is gonna take the seed of those that didn't sow well, and it's gonna give it to the ones that sowed well. See? So that is why the ministry has to create consciousness of sowing. And there are people that like to live off of what others are sowing. And that makes me sad. People full of misery make me sad, especially the ones from this ministry. If you see that you don't see me, if you don't see me near you often, it's because I don't hang around people full of misery. No. I break it by serving you. But you see that where there's no flow and no respect, that's That's the devil, literally. The person of kingdom needs to have detail always. Needs to have that detail because misery and rejection goes against the detail. And details are from God. And you have to take that into account, that breaks and it liberates. And it liberates more in you. Even though it breaks that in others, but it breaks in you. It liberates and liberates. Because it is a flow. What the heart is full of, the mouth speaks. Your seed comes with that. That is where you can express to the person how you value them and what you believe. I cannot show a God that I have not enjoyed and don't know. I can't. That is why it's so important to enjoy God. Furthermore, even more enjoy too when others want to have details with you, because we want to deny ourselves and be like, no, thank you, don't do that. We don't want to accept the detail. I love for others to have details with me. Yeah, because I'm blessing that person. Because the word says that it's better to give than to receive. When somebody's giving me, I tell them, are you going to say thank you to me? And they're like, wait, what? And I'm saying, yeah, because it's better to give than to receive. So when I give, I'm the one that has to say thank you to the one that I'm giving because they're allowing me to serve because I took the best part. And the one that receives the detail, may he enjoy it because it's an honor from God. Christ said that nobody goes to the Father but by him. To the Father. He didn't say to God. In the Old Testament, it showed God as Tsidkenu, Rapha, Jireh. It showed God in different ways and forms for men to be able to meet God in different facets. But Christ didn't come to show God in different facets. Christ came to show the Father, Dad, my Father, the one that has detail, the one that's responsible with his children, the one that knows your need, the one that knows you need something, the ones that knows you in your intimacy, that one. And when you're detailed, because you learn to enjoy your Father, then you know where to put the seed that goes. And I'm going to tell you a secret, something that I've lived with, something that I've lived. People think you need to have a lot of money to have detail, and no. You can have detail even with a lemonade or something simple, a piece of candy. Because maybe that little piece of candy, people will say, oh wow, you would never guess how much I wanted that piece of candy. You would never know. A hug or a lending an ear. You don't know how many times I've lent my ear, and I talk a lot, but I lend my ear and I listen to somebody, to be able to listen to somebody and just listen. And people tell me, thank you for listening to me. That's why we have so many seeds. But imagine a life full of misery and rejection. You didn't even know that you had an ear to lend, that you had hands to help others. An ear to lend, it's valued. It's worth a lot. I remember my wife when she used to say, Apostle, can you please let me talk to my husband? She would tell me that because she needed her husband's ear. And then I would say, yeah, the apostle gave me a break. How can I help you? Oh, that happens. But it's important to understand that, yeah, we do have. That whole mentality of, no, that's you that have. No, we all have so much. We have time. We have words, a lot of words. The precise word, That's why it's so important to enjoy God the Father. Because when you enjoy God the Father, then you learn to be sensitive to the Spirit. And He starts trusting you and says and tells you, go to so and do this and put this there. Sometimes we do things for people and it's happened to us. And the team knows this because I've lived through it, that we've sent details to people that don't need it. Like, let's say, food. And that person doesn't need that. And the team is like, but they don't need it. But we say, hey, bring this to so-and-so. And they're like, but this person has money. And when they get the detail, they start crying. And they're like, but why are you crying? The thing is that I'm here and I don't have any help. And I know that I wasn't going to be able to get that, what you brought me, because I didn't have the logistic to get it. And you sent me everything that I needed. Meaning you facilitated the logistic of something that was impossible for me to accomplish. It wasn't a matter of money. It wasn't a matter of need. It was a matter of not being able to do what they wanted to do because of the logistic. We've lived through that. And for my team to be like with their mouths open, like, wow, surprised. During COVID, we took care of all our leaders and pastors and members, national and international. We took care of them. And I would tell the team that had to do with, planification team and health, I would say, call them, find them, send them teas. And they were like, but wait, tea, juices? And I was like, yeah, do it. They have to get industrial juicers and prepare teas in large quantities. And all those people, 100% of those people, they, because of their lifestyle, because of their logistic, had the time to make themselves tea with key ingredients. They could never do it. And we would bring the tea, bring the juice, special juices to increase the to improve their immune system, the medicines that they needed. But it was people that didn't have the need, financial need. But those that didn't have the financial need were the most irresponsible in terms of their meals. And we would send them the whole pack to our pastors, to our leaders, people from high class, middle class, low class, all of it. And a team behind, volunteers working. Some people will make the juices, some people will make the teas. Another team will do something else. There were people checking on them on their chat saying, at 8 o'clock, you got to take this medication. At 3 o'clock, you got to take this medication. See all the wealth we have? And people, when it comes to logistic, they will get complicated. And it was even a spiritual matter. Because many people would say, no, I'll take that medication later. And that's where you identify the human resources that you have. And that's where we organize teams to do follow-ups. And that's details. You want more detail than that? That follow-up? And I even told Pastor Jonan, who's the head of the planification department, and said, call these people, call them. And it even seemed like it was a little much, but it was a move from the Spirit, because if we didn't do that, we would have lost a lot of people. We would have lost a lot of people. When he started following up on people the way that I pushed him to, then he called me and he apologized. He said, wow, I apologize. I didn't believe, or I didn't understand why you had that aggressiveness to follow up on people, because people weren't taking care of themselves. People that their labs were, their immune system was on the ground and they weren't taking care of themselves. It was work. This was never talked about. We had never talked about this, but we're sharing it now as part of details in terms of what we lived through, what the ministry lived through, especially the planning department during the pandemic. the administration side, how we all came together to go take care of so many members because nobody was prepared for what happened. Nobody was prepared for all that. And so many complex things like the combinations that we were recommending and all that logistic, the ministry took it on and we got into agreement and we organized ourselves to do it to that level. And see how the details show. See? And now you see that the details are very specific. Like we were talking about the international members, people that are alone in a country, and then they see a flower arrangement in a note that says, "A day like today, God thought of you." You can't imagine. That has hit people in Colombia, in all those states in the United States, and people are left like, wow. Just to remind them of one detail, God the Father thought of you on a day like today. That's deep. That is how you build leaders. That's how you liberate God's children. God's children are built with details. Because the mission of the ministry is to go for those children that are enslaved and to bring them out of their jails. And that can only be done through a body that's united, because the same way one defeats 1,000, two defeat 10,000, the body defeats Hades.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión GJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.